What's up, Jimmy? Welcome to our studio, Howard County studio. Luckily, you're a Howard County resident like myself.
Home sweet home.
Makes it a lot easier than. I mean, not only are you not a Howard County resident, you don't even live in the state of Maryland anymore.
And I'm surprised you guys let me in this like bubble with my political beliefs. So I'm a little nervous about the Howard County.
That's why you're standing like.
Don't be nervous.
Yeah, that's why they got me on the other third of the studio, because they're afraid of what might come out. Are you afraid that you're going to get evicted because I'm in the Howard County bubble?
I mean, like you're in Maryland and you don't even live in Maryland. You're not even a Maryland resident anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could deal with that. Like parts of Maryland would still like believe the same thing I believe, but like I've hit the bubble. I'm not dressed appropriately, not clean shaven.
Whatever.
All right, screw this. Enough about me.
We don't fit the mold here anymore.
All about you, Ian.
It's not about me. It's about Jimmy. Let's talk about Jimmy. Jimmy, you live on a farm in Howard County. How's it going?
Super. Things are great.
Yeah. So, give us a little background of Jimmy Harris.
Business or personal or
let's do business.
Way back about 21 years ago.
Right.
You're 21, right?
Long time ago. So I started in real estate in 2003. Started out in the residential space, representing buyers and sellers. Then I bought a Remax, opened a title company, did that for a while, then started buying some rental properties, some residential rentals. That kind of spawned into doing some flips. Then that spawned into building new houses. And then the new houses went through the whole 2008 debacle. And then that came to the point where we kind of stopped doing the flips and stuff, focused more on the residential rentals. And then that led to now we're in the commercial arena doing the self-storage stuff now.
See, we know everything about Jimmy.
Yeah, that's it.
Podcast over, baby.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me.
90 seconds
Take care.
in.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was the easiest one we've ever done. But no, seriously, like, I know you kind of always like glaze over it, but did you ever have a W-2 job prior to you like getting into real estate, or were you always just entrepreneurial?
Did you get my script of questions? That was legit. Like
no, because every time we talk about
first thing I was going to ask if you ever had a W-2 job before.
No. Well, yes, I did. Well, kind of. Back in the day, I owned a screen printing and embroidery company, so we sold promotional products and stuff like that. But that was a partnership thing between me and my dad also. So I've never actually worked for somebody else, except for my father when I first got out of school, and that was a couple years into it. Then we sold that company, and I started in real estate. So,
definitely
never worked for anybody.
Definitely an entrepreneurial family. So I don't want to like jump ahead, but tell us about the what was it? Your batting cage.
Oh yeah, so that was all part of. That's right, that too.
That was on Route 1 in Howard County.
Route 1 in Howard County. So that started back when I was in high school. My dad opened a batting cage. I was big into baseball. I played high school baseball. Played at Towson for a little bit. Towson State
Who doesn't have a baseball team anymore, right?
They do now. It was out, and then now it's back in. So they're trying to take it away because of funding, and then now they've.
As of how long ago was it back in? Like recently.
Yeah, this
like
was
really
all in the
recently.
last few years.
Okay,
That they took the funding away. Then a lot of the guys fought to get it back, so they brought the program back.
Got it.
And so I played baseball, and we went to a batting cage one time, and it was just a terrible experience. And my dad was like, "Oh, screw this! I'm going to start my own then," and he did.
Good for him.
So it's called Rounding Third Family Entertainment Center. It started on Route 1 just as batting cages, and it had like a little arcade and like a pro shop. And then we bought a building in Elk Ridge on Amberton Drive. It's like 25,000 square feet on like 4 acres. We built that out, and then we added. Then it had the batting cages still. We added laser tag, go-karts, mini golf.
Chilling as a high school kid.
Why'd you get rid of this place?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, because you guys don't own that building anymore, do you?
No, sold the building, sold the business, sold everything. Actually donated a lot of the equipment away. So that, that was kind of that journey. During that time, my dad also owned like 5 other businesses. He owned a asbestos removal company, lead paint removal company, fireproofing company, commercial insulation company, and a roll-off company.
Dude, Jimmy Harris Sr., baby, doing it. And he worked
he
for
was.
You know what? You're out of here. Get Jimmy over here.
Yeah, did he work at a bank too?
He worked at a bank before that.
Oh, okay, got it.
So yeah, so he worked at MBA America.
Yeah,
that's where he started. And then him and my uncle opened my uncle was more of a hands-on guy. So he opened up a commercial insulation company. That's what my uncle did. So then they opened up their own company. My dad was kind of the finance guy behind it. Then my uncle got sick, unfortunately, passed away of cancer. And my dad made a promise to him that I won't let this company fold. Like that was their kind of legacy that they had together. So then my dad and the banking, to step back a little bit, the banking world was very demanding.
Right.
I mean, they would be like, look, you're going to Texas. They'd come in his office at noon and be like, you're on a flight at 3, your wife's packing your bag's going to meet you at the airport, and you're gone. And a 3-day trip turns into a 3-week trip. And, so when I was little, he was gone a lot.
Was that here in Wilmington, Delaware, though?
That was in Wilmington.
Did you guys live in Wilmington?
No, we lived in
okay.
Hartford County in Joppatown.
Yeah, I mean, because I had a lot of friends when I went to University of Delaware. A lot of friends got internships with MBNA.
Oh, absolutely.
That was there back then.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think it went out of business since.
No,
right?
no. They're still there. I mean, so my dad
maybe
was
their
one
country,
of the...
maybe their golf club that they used to own went out of business. Maybe that's what it was.
Could be, yeah. So, and Bank of America since took them over. Or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
So,
yeah.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I remember him telling me that story. So, pretty much everything you guys do are business partners? Like, you guys own everything together?
Yep, we're all 50-50 all the way across the board. My dad's always been the back shop kind of guy, like the number cruncher, type guy and things like that. He does a lot now. He's big in giving back. He does a lot with financial literacy. He goes out and teaches classes and does stuff like that. And it helps us, and as a byproduct of that, it helps us raise capital as well. So, people will come to him and say, hey, I have this much money. What should I do with it? And he goes, well, here's your options. And he always presents one of those as, hey, you can be an investor in real estate as well. Not necessarily an operator. There's obviously,
as passive investor.
Different.
Has that always been like the front door in order for you guys to raise capital? Over the years?
Yes and no. I mean, we certainly don't use it as a platform. Like it's not a bait and switch.
Sure.
He's truly going out there to help the people. And a lot of people, need just help, and that's what they're looking for. So there's been countless times when people have come to us and said, hey, I'm struggling with my house. Like, I think I might lose it, stuff like that. And instead of going out there and buying their house, which would be the easy move and the most profitable move for us, we do, he helps them do a forbearance or, a loan deferment or whatever, restructuring of the loan and stuff, and helps them keep their house.
Yeah.
So, so there it's,
grinding.
What's that?
Dude's grinding.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, but he gets a lot of joy out of that, which is good. So, me, I've always been the operator kind of guy. Like, I'm the guy that goes out there and I'm the hands-on guy. I want to walk the places and look at them and, manage the, the construction and all that kind of good stuff. I mean, I understand the numbers certainly, but, so it works out good. So, but he wants to start cutting back in the next little bit. So hopefully,
he should.
Yeah.
But he enjoys it. So
he does.
Well, yeah, we always talk about it. It's like, I don't know. I was just talking. I was at a mastermind last week, right? Like we were all talking about, like, what you kind of get to that point where it's like, more properties. What do they serve their purpose for in your life and stuff like that? Are you growing just to grow or whatever? But it's like, oh man, when something comes so naturally and easy to you, it's like hard. It's just like hard to put down. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I can't imagine your dad just being like, "That's it, I'm done. All right, Jimmy, you handle everything. I'm just going to go golf Like, I don't see your dad doing that.
No.
But also, if you have a platform, you need everyone needs a platform. When you have a platform, it's very easy to put that in your platform, right? Like if you were like, hey, there's a good business opportunity in a business venture that you probably don't have any experience with. Let's just say you'd be like, you know what? I'm older. I don't want to deal with this crap anymore. It's a pain in the neck. You know what startup time is. But if you're like, hey, I have this building, or whatever it is, I've built 100 of these, or I've managed 100 of these. You just put it in your platform, and it's easy.
Kind of does itself. Right?
I mean, we've talked about that in lending because obviously our long-term goal was always to be self-funded. But then maybe that's not the case. That means that, like, why should we limit ourselves to doing a certain amount of loans when it only takes a few minutes because we have a platform for it. So why not just do it with other investors' capital, help them out as well? And same with you. I mean, I know right now you're kind of in a funky spot where it's like, I'm in execution mode. I don't want to buy anything else. But as we were just talking about a second ago, new deals are coming around and you're like, I might as well. I have a platform with it. It'll be easy just to mix and match it in.
Oh, yeah. So here's the question I posed, and I'm going to literally derail our conversation. But, like, we were at this mastermind, and when I left, like me and Dan got in this deep conversation yesterday, and I'll ask you guys the same thing. If you had the opportunity to go public, like, And it's just, to me, it's an unattainable goal. But like, if you could grow to that size, is that something that like you would take that for a ride, or would you say like, nah, man, like I'm good at my size and like remaining small and just want to be nimble, right? Like, it's kind of what we were discussing. And to me, like going public is like such a massive unattainable goal in my mind that it's like, that's like the pedestal. Not that I want to go public, because we all know the way I dress that I'd be voted out in like day one. Like, you're not allowed to serve any board position. I'd be completely
I'm sorry,
screwed.
how did you even get this spot?
What's your name, sir?
Right.
So what was your answer? I mean, so you're just saying you take your entire holdings, your whole real estate portfolio or lending portfolio, and you go public with it. That's where you're getting.
Yeah, kind of like Sam Zell, right? Like that's kind of like what I'm basing it on, like him being a small shop, but also being able to get to like a massive size of public. And to me, the only reason I would want to grow to that size is knowing that I'm helping Ryan, I'm helping Raquel, and like all the people that work for us and with us and our investors, that like we're helping them grow. It's not necessarily monetarily for us, but it's like it's helping them grow. But then like you also, like, you know, Jimmy subscribed to the Life and Air model for a while, where a lot of those guys are like, well, I have enough and I'm good, and this is kind of like where I want to be. I don't want to make you that guy in this conversation.
No, and I'm not. And I think you know, when you're looking at that, I think just like anything else, you know, there's like an old saying that I had, you take, you know, you eat the meat and you throw away the bones. Like, the whole Life and Air thing is not, you know, it's not everything to everyone. Like, I think you take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and you got to make it your own.
Sure.
You know, and, you know, I think it also starts with, like, going back to your question, like, what's your overall goal? Like, what's your why? Why would you want to go public? And if there was a legit reason there, then do it. Whatever makes you happy, whatever your goal is. Like, if your goal is, like, I just want my jet, you know, and if you're, you know,
selfish goal.
Wait, who's that goal for?
Selfish goal.
I can't imagine anybody would want to go like that. But if somebody did want to go like that, you know, but seriously, I mean, you know, if that's your goal, or if your goal is like, hey, I just want to be debt free and have no worries and have enough monthly income coming in to support my family and do what I want to do, I mean, I think it's different strokes for different folks. I don't think there's a simple yes or no answer, and Dan's answer might be no and your answer might be yes.
Yeah, and well, it's a tricky situation in general, because it's like, okay, well, you know what size you're at, and then it's like, well, what's the next level, and like, what's next? And, you know, you guys are literally witnessing me try to break this down in real time, because I don't have a good answer. But in the same sense, it's like, when we look at Ryan, it's like, well, you know, he's grown leaps and bounds, and like, if we did one more deal, like, how would that help Ryan, right? Like, does it make more money for him? Does it help his family and his wealth and his legacy, and Raquel in our office and everybody else? Is like, that's what you start to look at, like, as you grow. But then again, I was sitting in that mastermind looking at these other guys who are like, oh, I got 2 deals and I want to be like you. I'm like, well, why do you want to be like me? I want to be like you. You got 2 deals and you're loving life, right? Like, it's kind of like, it's like that grass is greener on the other side. And it was funny. We were staying at a house. There was a new build across the way. and then one dude's like, you know, I want to do like a lot of deals like you and John and whatever else. I'm like, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And literally there's a dirt field. I see, there it is in real time. So
everyone thinks the grass is greener on the other side, and it's certainly not. I mean, listen, the point of going public obviously is, for the most part, you know,
capital.
You have some sort of liquidity event, right up front. Plus, you've got, for the most part, potential for unlimited capital. That's what you want, though. But then you got a boss.
Then you got a lot of people to answer.
You got a lot of people to answer
for. You got to follow right. You know, I don't know. I don't think most real estate investors got into being real estate investors to do that, and you can accomplish it the same way. You can still do tons and tons of deals.
Sure.
I mean, if you want to do tons and tons of deals, I like Jimmy's mentality that, you know, he told me 10 years ago, related to, hey, if I could do 1 deal a year and, you know, make my $1 million a year, done. And I agree with that.
Have you figured that out yet?
No, that's why I'm still here. Nope, that's a big fat no.
Well, I mean, as you bump up asset classes and doing bigger deals, it's possible.
But honestly, that's why I've, you know, kind of, and I still had the residential rental portfolio, like Ian's, you know, I don't know what, I'm not throwing your business on
no,
the
go
air,
ahead.
but
go for it.
You're selling all yours, you know what I mean? And we've had conversations about, like, hey, should we package our stuff together and put out there, you know, an 80 package portfolio, 100 package portfolio, whatever. And then, you know, I mean, yeah, absolutely right. I mean, everything's for sale for the right price. Now, I have peeled off some of my, you know, single family residentials just because the market's so ridiculous right now.
We're
selling like a 2-bedroom in Dundalk, and I just put it under contract for $213,000, and the seller's paying all the closing costs. Or I mean, excuse me, the buyer.
What,
The buyer.
What did you pay for that? Did you pay $50,000 for that like 6 years ago?
No, I paid like
60.
$80,000 for it a year and a half ago.
Jeez, even better.
So,
But you own stuff there for longer than that.
Yeah,
right?
I've owned stuff in Dundalk for 15 years.
What did you buy? What did you pay for that exact unit?
Oh my
equivalent
God,
to
dude! If I
15
could go
years
back
ago
and buy
then 5
all
years
the
ago?
stuff that I would have passed on,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, you might be able to buy it for that price again in the future.
You might be able
mean,
to. I mean, nobody knows what the future holds, but
you have to sell that. Some assets run its course.
well, you know, and that was an asset that I took it over during the pandemic. Right, the people paid me maybe 1 month the entire time, and it was just one of those like redheaded stepchild kind of thing. I'm like, I'm just done with this.
So originally
one.
it was going to be a rental.
It was going to be a
and
rental.
then you-
Yeah, I mean, it was earmarked to be a rental, and I was like, you know what? It's in a nicer area, and I'm like, let's just unload it. Like, let's take that capital, roll it into something else, or
You
whatever.
rolled in
we're
something.
gonna do.
I mean, it was
So,
the
you know.
same reason why we sold our rental properties. Our rental properties cash flowed, but like took that cash and moved them into a platform, my hard money lending company. I used all the cash for that.
Yeah.
And dollar for dollar, cash flow ends up being the same, and I don't have any headaches.
got a hell of a lot
I mean,
less
I
headaches,
don't
right?
have the tax write-offs. I mean, obviously,
But you have
there's-
headaches that you know, understand, and can control.
yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I agree. I think certain assets run their course. You know, and I don't know what the future holds for me as far as I like having a diverse portfolio. I do like having, you know, the residential stuff. I like having the self-storage stuff. You know, if one of them performs really bad or that asset class is taking a dump, you know, I have something else to kind of back it up. I mean, I don't know if that's a scarcity mentality or if it's like, you know, or if it's a smart mentality. I know if you go to a bank, you know, they might be like, oh, I like the fact that you have this over here which performs and this over here which performs. You know, so I don't know. I mean, I'm still in that phase where it's like they kind of run themselves. Like I don't even like I have a girl in the office that runs them. I have maintenance guys that do stuff and whatever. So I really don't get involved that much. I might spend a few hours a week on the rentals, but that's about it.
Are you trying to aggressively buy new stuff like on a regular basis? Like
single family deals
no,
or
any
just
deal.
in,
Any deals.
absolutely
Actively
I'm
looking to acquire.
Yeah, opportunistic. I mean, if
Yeah.
the right deal comes along, like I had a deal that, you know, and I talked to Ian about this a little while ago. I had a deal that I thought was a massive home run, and I have it under contract now, but, you know, it's a commercial deal, and I thought it was an acre and a half right on Route 40, right in White Marsh with access to, you know, right on Route 40. Turned out that the legal description was wrong. It's actually just shy of an acre, so it's still not bad. You still have the access onto Route 40 and stuff like that. It's got 2 nice buildings on it and stuff. And I was talking to my title company guy, and I said, he goes, "What do you have here?" He goes, I said, "I don't know." I said, "But I have something." And he goes, I said, "What do you think?" Because you know commercial stuff. And he goes, "Yeah, I don't know." He goes, "I don't know what you have, but you have something." So like that's kind of the thought process is like,
So you're trying to figure out
whatever
what
it
to do with
is, you know, I got it under contract at the right number where I could literally just turn around, put it right back on the market, and somebody will buy it. But yeah, just opportunistic, you know. And you know, I had some people bring me single family stuff that's like, to your point, like it's stuff that I know. Like I mean, it's no brainer stuff where I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. You know, I walk through the house for 5 minutes and I'm like, yeah, I'll buy it. Like in worst case scenario, even if I turn around and flip it, or I just add it to the portfolio, whatever, it's those kinds of things that, you know, but to your point also, the residential stuff is not going to get me to where I want to be. So I need to start looking at those bigger deals. And that's where I've started transitioning into. So
Yeah. And I mean, listen, there's only so far a residential deal that cash flows $1,000 a month.
Right, exactly.
Is going to get you, but that's not a bad thing.
No.
And then, you know, if it works and it, you know, we all have a platform for this. We also have people in place that can help with this. So it's not going to take a ton of time or resources to do. But, you know, it's interesting, you know, to think about, and like think about everybody like at the beginning. And this is kind of something that you've talked about as you transitioned into storage a few years ago. And I know you bought some storage stuff, and I have some storage stuff as well, that you kind of start small. Now that you might start small because that's all the capital you have, or it's what you can wrap your brain around, because you might think, hey, well, a $300,000 deal is less risky than a $3 million deal.
Right.
It arguably is not the case, but one
I
might
agree.
think that is. So I think for a lot of real estate investors that are starting out, like you kind of have to learn and get your hands dirty on the smaller stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always liked, I'll tell you, for hard money loans, like typically the bigger loans perform better. because if you have a 35% equity cushion, I'd rather have, a $400,000 property than a $100,000 property, right? Like dollar wise. But there's also this like, well, let's say like I really F up on a $100,000 deal and completely screw it up and it goes bad. Like you can stroke a check and get out of it. On a $1 million deal, it's a little bit harder to do that. But I would guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, your guys' opinion, that like if you're a newer real estate investor, you should still start kind of on the smaller deals that potentially have bigger margins, dollar-wise. I'm sorry, percentage-wise, not necessarily dollar-wise, but percentage-wise, just to get your feet dirty, right? Like that's what you did, right? I mean, if you're buying that stuff in Dundalk 15 years ago, I mean, that's a price point area.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're only worth $200,000 today, right?
Yeah, but you were buying some of those for 40, 50 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, Ian's bought his share over there.
Them days are gone, boy.
Yeah, they're. I don't see you ever being able to buy something that cheap over there again. I mean, obviously the unicorn deal comes across every once in a while, but I still think that but you don't know what you don't know. When I first started, there was so much stuff I did wrong. Even in the residential space, I'm like, oh my God, if
everybody
I could
did
turn back the hands of time, and I think that to your point, like yes, if you can start, but the barrier to entry is so low in that market. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the Dundalk row home, or I know I keep saying Dundalk, any row home, the city stuff. Like I have no interest in going out and buying a $5,000 house. Like, but people do it all the time.
Sure.
And
it's risk aversion, right? Like it's workforce housing, or it's like it's still tactile to say, oh well, it's only 50 grand or 100 grand or whatever it is. Like it's all relative. It's like the risk aversion's there. I remember when I first got started, one of the mentors I had, he'd be like, you own this 100-unit apartment building and this 40-unit apartment building, and he had some tough stuff, but he's like, the big difference is I could lend you $1,000 tomorrow, $2,000, doesn't matter, and you could go ask all your friends for $1,000 or $2,000, and you can get bailed out. He's like, but when I screw up, I need $20 and $30 and $40 and $50,000. He's like, I just can't call anyone, right? Like that's the big difference. So that risk aversion when you're first getting started, I think is huge. And we all know when a batter's in a slump, just swing the bat and get on base. Like that's step number one. And I think a lot of people breeze through that, and they're like, and I know there's people out there coaching, and we're friends with one of them who's saying you can go out and do this massive deal on day one. And I think you can. The right people can. But in the same sense, I think swinging the bat, going through the motions, understanding who and what you are and what that looks like and what you like and don't like will go exponentially further than trying to smash a home run on the first deal.
Yeah, I mean, would you do a $250,000 single-family deal like when you started?
No,
first deal? Probably not. I don't think
I wouldn't even go to the county. I wouldn't even go to the county.
I don't think you'd have the resource. I mean, it'd be hard to get capital for it.
Well,
it'd be hard for everything.
Yeah, well, I look at deals now, and I'm like, but see, it's all relative, too. Like, the deal that I passed on for 40 or 50 grand in Dundalk 15 years ago, like, the numbers didn't make sense then. Yeah. Like, hindsight's 20/20. You can look back now and be like, dude, I should have bought that. Well, I didn't have the money to buy it.
Yeah.
Like, no bank would have refied me out of that property. So, like, how much unless you have a crap ton of capital sitting there at your disposal where you can deploy that and be like, I'm going to wait 20 years.
Which is
like, who's going to do? Like, nobody's going to.
Which actually is not a good thing either. Like, if you have lots of capital and you're getting started, like, that's a little scary as well because. You need, you're going to potentially irresponsibly deploy that because you don't know better. Yeah. It's like I've seen a lot of folks. I mean, we did a deal maybe 10 years ago, 8 or 10 years ago, 3 deals for one group of clients in DC, and they overpaid for all of them. They under budgeted the construction, and they had capital backing. So, like, we gave them probably like 50% LTV, and they put up the other 50% of their own capital. Like, it was a group of guys, and they did it together, and girls that did it together, and like they got killed on all 3 of them because they were just eager. They had the capital, like, this one's great. We should do it like this. We should do it like they didn't learn. They didn't do it the hard way. But I've also found, and you probably can all attest to this, if you have a good opportunity, like a real good opportunity, and you're out there grinding and you're fighting and making sure this deal will not, will always perform, the capital will follow it. The capital will. Like, it might not be the first investor you talk to, but like you will raise the capital.
Capital follows good deals.
Absolutely.
Like, if you get
the capital will find it, and
it follows good operators too.
Exactly, and especially everyone's like, well, how do you raise so much capital? It's like, well, it freaking snowballs. It doesn't happen overnight, but you do one good deal with somebody, they're going to do the next deal with you and the next deal with you and the next deal with you, right? Now, so you have like whatever, one investor following you over here, then another investor following you over here, and all of a sudden, it's branching out and doing big and bigger and bigger stuff.
Yeah, I mean, one of our, I was talking to someone and they said the reason we invest with you is because you don't have money to fix, not like that, but like you don't have money to fix your problems, right? Like a lot of these guys are just Wall Street guys wearing suits and they got money to throw at problems. What puts them in a deeper hole? They're like, I feel like you guys are blue collar guys. You're gonna go out there, get dirty. Literally, I got mud stains on my pants. You're literally gonna get dirty and go out there and fix the problem because that's what you have to do.
You have to do it,
and you got to know your trait and who and what you are to get that done. And I sat down with one of your investors when you were first getting into storage, and just looking at that dynamic and the conversation. Everyone's like, "Oh, like why would Jimmy let you sit down with your investor, with his investor?" And I'm like, I have no relationship with this guy.
Exactly.
Jimmy has performed so good for this guy. Even if I asked Jimmy to introduce me to say, hey, man, will you let your investor put some money into our deal because I know he wants to deploy money and you don't have enough deals to do it, I don't think I could ever pierce that relationship.
Right.
I mean, that's how it goes. Investors will never overlap. I actually don't think one of us has the same private investor at all.
I doubt. I seriously.
We don't need
doubt
to.
that. Yeah.
Our private investors are not looking to,
No.
look for
They're
another
investing in
operator and
us.
vice versa. Exactly.
100%.
Like
That's
Ian's
where it
guys
was.
are investing in him
I mean,
because they know him and trust him. They know his,
Same thing.
it's going to get, the job's going to get done. They trust you and Chris when they lend you guys money because they know like these guys know how to analyze a deal. They're not going to get over leveraged. They're not going to get stupid. They have a good baseline to work off of. And that's why I was like, dude, come on in, like talk to this guy.
Yeah.
Because like I'm not an operator in that space yet. So like our relationship was such that I'm like, look, and that's the thing. I think a lot of people, make a little off of a lot. You know what I mean? Don't get greedy. There's a saying, pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. Like, be piggy. Go out and get your fair share. But, like, don't feel like you got to have 100% of everything, because that's where I think that you can get,
absolutely.
You can just get the wrong mindset real quick in that scenario.
Well, let's eventually we're going to get to that deal because I thought it was an interesting dynamic that wound up happening throughout it. Like sitting down with your investor and walking through and like you being able to co-sign off some of the stuff that we did to ultimately make him feel comfortable, right?
Yep.
But like you've been grinding single family for a long time.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of guys that do big single family stuff, right? Like we know all the big operators in the market. Single family's provided a great life for all of us, and I think people can be very successful at it. But like where's your mental switch that's gone off to say, hey man, like I've let it run its course, and now I'm looking for that next thing. Like, what was that mental shift for you to be like, I want to try something different? Because Jimmy hasn't done a good job selling himself. I just want to be clear with everyone. The guy builds houses, and he builds new homes and does very well with it. He's always working on something new. You got a nice size single-family portfolio. He's not done a good job of selling himself, which we appreciate because we're not here to sell shit. But you're very successful at what you do. Like, where was that mental switch to say, all right, I want to try something different?
I think it kind of going back to like what you said, and I think kind of what the conversation was spawning earlier about going public.
Right.
It's like, what's your why? My why is my family. I mean, I didn't say it. I have 5 kids, and you guys know I coach.
His kid portfolio is as big as his real estate portfolio.
Right? Exactly.
It's probably as expensive, guaranteed.
So these guys know that very well, and but like that's my why. That's why I do it. I want to be out there. I want to be on the field, coaching them every day. Baseball, softball, whatever it is. And I feel like, once you're into something for long enough, you get comfortable and you can become complacent with it too. Like, and I feel like, not that I've become complacent with the single family stuff, but I feel like the market has shifted a lot. COVID really put a hurting on the new construction stuff. As far as, obviously supply chain issues, lumber price. I mean, it's like, it's been a flipping nightmare. The counties are an absolute disaster, trying to get permits and subdivisions. Yeah. And, I had a subdivision that was supposed to take 8 to 9 months. It took over 3 years. Like, how do you budget for that?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when somebody else is calling the shots, and kind of dictating your course, it makes it very difficult to stay engaged in that. And I feel like that over the past, couple years or whatever, that's been kind of eye-opening for me. And I feel like that's where I've said, all right, also single family, I can't scale it enough to get to where I want to be. And where I want to be, I don't know what that looks like. I mean, where I want to be today might not be where I want to be tomorrow. I just know that, single family, if I wanted to get to where I want, like I got to have dozens more closings, right, in order to get to where I want. the commercial side of it, whether it be self-storage or just an industrial space or whatever, it might take 10 closings.
Yeah.
Like 10 deals, and I might surpass me closing 50 more single families very easily. And the numbers, and so I think it's the scalability of it too. Looking at it from that perspective, saying, look, I don't want to be grinding single families forever. Can I do it? Yeah, I could probably, I could do it and it'll be fine. And, I could plug away, but,
Yeah, I mean, like your Canton deal, Canton, Ohio, you buy a storage facility, it's $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you normally buy single-family homes for rent between probably, $50 to $100,000.
Yeah, ish. Yeah.
So you got to do 5 deals to one deal.
exactly my
And
point.
how much work was the closing difference for the $500,000 deal than it was to the?
Probably easier.
Yeah.
And the closing costs in Ohio were
nothing.
Weirdly.
I love
Isn't that the best thing?
That's
Get
so
out-
weird. There's no transfer record.
Dude, I even called him up and I'm like, is this aren't you missing stuff? Like, are you missing stuff? Like, why? Like, I buy a house in Dundalk, it costs me more than this.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
one
Because
$80,000
there's no
house.
tax. It's just a recording charge.
It's
Well, no
stupid.
mortgage tax
No
is the other
mortgage
nice one too. So.
Dude, it was insane.
So do you think that
you
the last 2 years was a blessing in disguise then? Because
Yeah,
okay, let's
to
say
some
the market was the same as it was kind of before, right? I'm not saying like super hot because it's still super hot right now, but that doesn't. But there was a good arbitrage of where you could buy a property, rent it out, or flip it and still make money. I'm guessing you probably would have continued to crank through that, but maybe it's a blessing that like, hey, the market changed, we needed to shift. Like we all have to kind of reevaluate what we want. I mean, you too, for that matter, because
COVID was the best thing in the world for us.
Yeah, it got to a point there. It's like, you know what? Let's shift our mindsets and our operations and, take the plunge into different types of assets.
Yeah, I think that it wasn't necessarily the market, because to your point, the market is still hot. I think it was the behind the scenes of the permitting and the supply chain issues and the lumber, skyrocketing and all the other BS that went into that. That's where I'm like, dude, you have to be ever evolving. I think if you say, look, I'm a single family guy and that's what I'm going to do forever, it's like you could go up there and beat your head against the wall, and it's like, you just got to be able to, from our perspective, maneuver and shift and, adjust on the fly and things like that. So I agree with Ian. I mean, I think that, there was some bumps in the road, regarding that. I mean, things got severely delayed on that side for us with, permits getting released and, subdivisions getting done and different stuff like that. And I think there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better widget out there. And I think that's what kind of shifted us, in that regard. So,
yeah, no, I should have trademarked the word, the opportunistic investor, because that's I know you said it, but that's literally what we talk about is right now, storage has got a great runway. Let's utilize that. Who knows? I mean, there's talks of people saying interest rates go to 7% on single family. Well, everybody's going to be running out the front door. We're running in, right? That's where the opportunity lies. And knowing that that's kind of I guess we're going to $1 billion or public or whatever it is really, really tough because you can't be as nimble per se as what we all are today,
Let me ask you a question. Did you see in how many properties did you guys own in 05, 06? Did you guys own a bunch of properties then?
Yeah.
Or did you own your Remax?
Single families?
Yeah.
Probably 60-ish.
Oh, so you owned a lot
that.
then. Did you have your Remax?
We did.
Ben?
We got out of Remax in 07.
In 07. Okay.
Yeah, the Remax and the title company.
But
we sold. So then we split up and we sold some stuff off, and we had a partnership that kind of ran through all of those entities.
Got it. Walk us through, and because I didn't own 60 properties then, but I own properties. Walk us through, because see, here's the thing: a lot of folks, especially locally that we know that are in our sphere, they didn't see 06, 07, 08. They came in in 2000, whatever, 15, 2016. It's only been good. Yeah. It's only been up. Interest rates have been low. Things changed.
Right.
Obviously, the strong continued to survive.
Yeah.
And we're not even Hard Money Banker started in 07, right? And Chris and I owned properties before that, and we did some little lending here and there, but nothing major. But we scaled in 07. 07, obviously, any deal I did in 07 should have tripled or quadrupled in value loan-wise, right? It just did. You didn't know that at the time. Yep. It was actually very hard to raise capital then.
Yeah,
they didn't have institutional-backed lenders. Private capital investors were scared. They just didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't want to invest in real estate. A lot of our campaigns were kind of anti stock portfolio, or I'm sorry, anti stock market, to try to get them into a secure asset. And it worked out, and we created a lot of relationships. Like, what did you guys see between like 06, 07, 08 into 09 and 2010? Like, were you buying throughout everything? Were you selling throughout everything?
No, it was interesting. I'll never forget, and I always tell this story. We did a lot with Susquehanna Bank, which is not around anymore. Yep. And we had lines of credit, and we had our rentals and, this, that, and the other and all that stuff. And so basically the crap hit the fan, and, they called us into the bank one day. So I'll never forget, me and my dad are riding up 695, and I'm like, look, you were a banker. Like, and he went through like the 80s savings and loan disasters. And like, he saw the worst of the worst. And I'm like, and he ran credit and collections for like MBA America. So he was like, I get this. And I'm like, all right, what are we in store for? Like, what's this meeting going to look like before we walk in the door? And he goes, they'll probably, cut our line back, because we had a line of credit which we could go out and buy properties
like
on.
A guidance line.
Yeah, exactly right. And we could go out and buy the property, rehab it, pay the line of credit back, and once we sold it, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, all right, cool. I said, so what do you think this is going to look like? He goes, well, I think they'll probably come in and tell us like, hey, we're going to scale your line of credit back. We really want to, scrutinize any deal you're going to put through us now, because it was a little bit too open and free. I mean, we would go out and buy stuff and then just come up and be like, hey, I just bought a $600,000 property and I wrote a check off the line of credit. And they'd be like, oh, okay, great, no problem, Yeah. So I was like, she was like, that's going to go away, and et cetera, et cetera. So we walk in, I'm like, all right, I'm expecting like, and we had a really good relationship with our lender there. And she was an awesome lady. And so we walk in and we sit down, and she goes, well, I got some bad news. And we're like, all right, we're kind of expecting whatever. And she goes, we're calling all of your notes. Ooh. We're calling every loan that you have.
My God.
And I look at my dad, I'm like, that's not what you told me. Like, that was not part of this conversation.
And you're like what, 28?
Yeah,
whatever
I was.
So we were still
you
like
do the math,
prematurity. Like,
oh, dude, I had no idea. Like, I'm like, this is like, I'm like, king dingaling in real estate. Like, oh, this is great. Like, we're killing it. Nothing could go wrong. It's we're on a trajectory like this, and I'm like, and then all of a sudden they come in and call everything, and we're sitting across the table like this, and.
Did you have the microphone in front of you too?
No, I didn't. I had a hidden one on, but that was for something else. So I'm like, what? Like, did that? What? Like, what?
Right.
Like, I didn't even know what to say. Like, I just looked at my dad like, are we being punked right now or something? Like, I'm looking for like hidden cameras or something.
I think
Yeah,
I think it was a show. Exactly.
Do you know that, or are you too young?
I know that show.
So I'm like, what in the? So we proceed to have the conversation of like, why are you doing that? We never missed a beat. We've never missed a payment. Like, we've always done what we said we're going to do, so on and so forth and whatever. And, and basically, long story short, we basically said, all right, here's the keys, take the properties. And they're like, what? And we're like, where do you want us to go? Like, nobody else is going to lend to us right now, not because we're bad borrowers, but because nobody's lending.
Right.
Like, there is no other avenue for us to pursue.
It was the dumbest thing for banks to even do.
But everyone they
were going after all their good. Every bank went after their good clients.
Absolutely right, yeah. And we basically said, look, here's your, and at that time, I don't know, it was a few $1 million that we had in like various lines and whatever, and so. After that, we said, look, here's, we'll drop the keys off. Like, we're not even joking, because, you couldn't sell anything then.
Right.
You know what I mean? You couldn't refi anything. Nobody was lending on anything. I don't care. And it's not like we were over leveraged. I think back then we had like a 65% loan to value overall in the portfolio or whatever. Yeah. And, among all
and they're
of the
income
partners.
producing. It wasn't like they were vacant properties. Like,
no, none of them were. And we didn't have stupid stuff on the books like, some of their borrowers had like subdivisions, like major subdivisions,
that's when you get
like
more trouble.
10, 20, 30 lot subdivisions.
Yeah.
Like, and for anybody that doesn't know, like, that's a major undertaking. Like, that is, you're not realizing income for years on that.
Yeah.
Like, and you're not realizing profit till the very end of that project.
I mean, what's the banks even going to do with any of that stuff? Like, that's not what they want.
No.
And
I think it was a knee-jerk thing.
They also didn't know what to do at the time.
Well, and that's the thing.
It's like, yeah, just pay us back. Like, we can pay you back.
Oh, yeah, here, hold on, let me pull that out of my pocket. You know, it's like, no.
Yeah, there's a reason we borrowed the money from you. Just want to go out on a limb here.
All right, so keep going on that.
It was crazy. So, at any rate, so after the dust settled a little bit, they kind of came back to us and said, hey, look, we'll keep your rentals, but we need the exposure on the spec stuff reduced. Because we had lots out there like against the line and so on and so forth and stuff like that. So we worked through that and paid that line totally off, and they shut it down. The day that we paid the last line off, they shut it down, which, it sucked because that was our lifeline. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's really what kind of spawned us into going out and raising private money. Yeah. Up to that point, we really didn't need it because we had lines of credit through the banks. And
the bank would do the front end loan too?
Bank would do it all.
Like you didn't get hard money or private?
No, I would write a check off a line of credit.
Yeah, got it.
Like I would go to settlement and I would wire off the line of credit and go to settlement and do everything, take all my construction costs off. They would review the deal. And they would make sure the loan to value wasn't 99% and whatever. And I still had to submit.
That wasn't even a guidance line. What was that? What was it called?
It's just, really, it was a line of credit collateralized against our rentals and our personal assets.
Yeah. So it wasn't really like a guidance.
Yeah.
Because guidance, it's just like, hey, we can, you have this much purchasing power, but we still have to approve every deal, get an appraisal and stuff like that.
Right.
No, and that was popular back then.
It was.
Because I know we never bought enough in volume. When we were buying stuff back then, we would get hard money loans, and it was more expensive, 15 and 5 back then, but we'd get a lot of 100% financing. So the way that Chris and I used to do it is we had a HELOC on our primary residence, and we'd get a hard money loan, and we would just use our HELOC as down payment, which wasn't a lot of money. We were buying stuff out of state. We were buying stuff in New Jersey and Philly. That's a different conversation. But we would do a $200,000 loan, and we needed like 20 grand or 30 grand. So it wasn't, now. The reason why people need more capital now out of pocket is just based on the deals that they're getting, and
because you guys screwed it up in 2007. Just saying,
we didn't screw it up. We all had good books of business.
There was too much money flowing around.
Let me ask you.
Well, the downfall was the homeowners. I mean, listen, you could get 100% financing as a subprime homeowner, with no doc, 580 credit score. The reason why
business getting that loan.
No business getting that loan. And the reason why I don't believe stuff will ever, maybe stuff will, go back like that at some point, but they've never given capital away like that since then. Not even freaking close. I mean, there's a lot of liquidity in the marketplace and it's cheap right now, but it's not. You're not just right. No. It's not that.
All the no doc
stuff
is out the window. Yeah. If you go to a normal, homeowner, home buyer, purchaser, whatever, they cannot get that kind of loan anywhere. No. It's non-existent.
And they scrutinize every single transaction that you have.
Yeah.
It's not even close to being in existence. Yeah. Dude, back then, believe us, it was in mid 2000s, anybody.
Oh, dude, you had a heartbeat. They throw money. At
that wasn't. That's just not a joke that went around. That's truly what it was because they kept. But it was in an environment like it is today. A house sells for 200, next one sells at 210, 220, 230.
And also, I mean, you had such fictitious appraisals.
Yeah.
I mean, guys are going out there, literally not even going to the property and be like, just tell me what number you need on this.
Yeah.
And they'd write it up, send it in.
I mean,
that's why there's people in jail.
Yeah. I mean, that was the reasoning why a lot of this stuff went. And also, I mean, one of my biggest takeaways from Sam Zell's book. I don't know if you ever read Sam Zell's book.
Are you too subtle? Am I too subtle?
But it's freaking awesome. Just listen to the audio. You'll literally just stand up listening to it, and 8 hours later you'll be done. It's so good. He's he's awesome. But the availability, the capital markets really dictate the values of properties and assets because if it's easily available, if it's cheap, people are going to utilize it we're doing now.
Yeah, I mean, there's starting to be compression in the marketplace.
As of very recently.
Oh, I just got a call from my lender the other day, and he was saying, "Hey, man, I know you're talking about refinancing some stuff or whatever, but the 3-year Treasury's moving up. It's within 5 basis points of the 10-year." And he's like, "That's not good because all it's going to happen is the 10-year and the 5-year are going to spread over that to keep the consistent curve." He's like, "I expect all rates to be over 4% in the next 6 months, 3, 5, 7, 10." All to be over 4%. So that means your 5 years is going to be probably closer to, or your 10 years is going to be closer to 5% by the end of this. And, guys that were buying stuff on the premises saying, okay, well, I could get 3% debt on 10-year money. Like, dude, you're screwed. Like, it's about to happen. And I wonder what's going to happen in compression of cap rates and everything, because a lot of your sophisticated buyers start buying based on the cap rate, on the spread that they can get between the debt and their equity on the whole thing. And, it could potentially start to go away. So it'd be interesting to see where the next several months go. But I do want to ask, like, when your line of credit went away, is that where you guys forced your hand to start going out and raising more capital and get to like more of a less debt model? I don't want to say, I know you're not debt free, but like a less debt required type model.
Yeah, it became less institutional, very quickly, almost overnight. And it was out of necessity, because it was like, look, if we're going to continue to do deals, we have to find a way to, kind of raise this money. And it didn't happen overnight. I mean, it took us a while to work through that. Don't
Well, it was probably the
yourself-
hardest time
yeah.
to raise
It
money.
probably took 5 years until
was.
2012.
It was probably
Yeah.
right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, I'd probably say right around 2012. I know there was guys that started in 08, 2010, whatever, and they didn't know anything else. Like they're
Yeah.
out there buying properties pennies on the dollar,
I know.
and we were kind of at the wrong end of that curve. Like
Yeah.
we had already established our portfolio.
sure.
Well,
we're
you-
trying to work our way out of a situation that was not our fault.
So sort of though. I mean, you also when it came down to it, like a few years later, you had the upper hand though.
Yeah.
Right. You had the experience and you had the other stuff that the other guys didn't.
Right. And and still looking at this, it's like, it's not always peaches and cream. You know what I mean? These people go out there and they're like, oh, I can't lose on this. I'm
Well,
like, dude, you have no idea.
people-
Wait till you're sitting across the table from your banker and they're calling all your lines of credit and all your money and this, that, and the other. I mean,
Or
maybe I'm too conservative
or
in some
they're
of the stuff I look at.
or they're doing a 5-year amortization schedule, or they're doing a 20-year, 25-year am, but it's called in 5 years or in a few years.
Yeah.
That's going to happen very, very soon.
Or
rates are going to go up,
Right.
and then all of a sudden, your 3.5% interest rate is going to go up, and all of a sudden your property doesn't cash flow anymore.
Yep.
Like that's going to happen.
So
in the
we
next
started
few years.
taking our whatever our residential portfolio was, and locking it into 30-year rates and terms within the last couple of years, and we're still doing
Yeah.
that. I mean,
even if it costs more.
it costs
you-
more,
yeah,
but
'cause you
I
don't
never
wanna
have to
deal
worry
with it.
about it again.
I
And
agree.
that's the best way to hedge against inflation.
I'm a 30-year ammo guy too,
yeah. Like I'm like
or 15-year. Like
yeah, whatever your model
full
is.
locked in.
Yeah, like I want to refi now and never have to worry about it again.
yeah.
And that's where
When the floodgates are open, you go in and abuse it. And the floodgates are about to close, and you get what you can get.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get stuff
And-
that fits your needs, and then the next time the floodgates are open, lock up all your stuff.
And when they
again.
close, it close. Like you can't. You're in too
Once
deep. At
it's
that
about
point.
to happen.
I was
Yeah.
literally sitting here just now, and we're getting ready to refi a few, residential things, and they're like, "Oh, the rates went up again today.
Yep.
So your rate has changed. It's
Yeah,
now
it's like,
this."
fuck.
And I'm like, "Are you serious? Like, dude, you're the one dragging this out.
Yeah.
We should have closed weeks ago,
Yep.
and it's your fault that
Yeah.
and now we're paying the price.
Yeah.
Guess what? They could care less.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
Or
they're
the
like,
fee
whatever.
shop.
But also,
Do you want to do it or not?
yeah, but
You
also
know,
the point
so-
is keep pushing forward to get that locked in because
absolutely, right.
because it could be worse. They could be like, hey, we're not doing it anymore.
Right.
Like,
well,
we can't
so
do
when
it
COVID
anymore.
hit, we were right in the process of, refining some of the. You took, I don't know, a chunk of like 8 or 10 properties or whatever, and just going in and doing a portfolio loan, and literally whatever the COVID word hit, and they rolled up the sidewalks March whatever it was 2020. And we were literally like 3 days away from closing on that, and it got shelved for like 18 months.
Yeah, it sucks.
And there's nothing we could do about it. So
So when did you guys start buying again? Like what year? 2012 or like
I would
right
say-
afterwards? Like a good opportunity
Yeah,
came?
probably in that time frame. That's when we kind of worked out of everything. We were stabilized again.
And there's income still coming in through those deals. So that's the beauty of it. It wasn't like you were playing defense for free.
No. I mean, they were still cash flowing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the rentals, nothing
Great.
really happened to them.
Yeah.
So, and that was also kind of a mindset shift, like as far as, throughout we were talking about like the COVID stuff or whatever, and, how that's kind of the best thing to happen to you. And I think it was eye-opening for us too, was like, all right, so I haven't been able to evict anybody in a long freaking time. I just saw somebody post yesterday something where if you went in to file today in Baltimore City, they're not hearing the cases till like mid-September.
Yep.
So, like, how the hell do you run a business like that?
No.
Like, somebody just holds a gun to your head, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, we tried doing stuff like, we only sign month-to-month leases now, so that way we can file tenant holding over instead of rent court. That gets them out somewhat quicker.
Yep.
But I mean,
we did 6-month leases.
yeah, I literally just go month to month. I'm like, dude, you don't want a month to month? I don't care. Don't rent
Did you see the guy in New York City? He just started printing big old signs
I did.
about
That's
it.
freaking awesome.
I mean, but what are you
that in
supposed to do?
Baltimore, though? I mean,
but the problem is, you're like they're putting these guys against the wall, and it's like keep swatting the bear, or whatever the saying is, the hornet's nest, whatever it is. You're gonna get stung, man. Like this is what you're trying to force down people's throats. But hey, man, when people's backs are against the wall, they're gonna do whatever it takes to survive.
You start taking food out of my family's mouth, and it's game on.
Right.
Like I don't care what the law says.
The other side of that is, look, I get there's a tenant on the other side, and people feel bad, but in the same sense, most of the tenants that have eviction problems through all this were deadbeat tenants prior to all this, right?
Yep.
Like we bought the 76-unit apartment building during this, and we had people from February. We're buying it in June. That hadn't paid from February, but because of COVID, you couldn't evict. Right. And we didn't literally get them out for almost 18 months.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And like, what are you supposed to do? Is just sitting there on debt, and then you can't refinance because then the banks are going, "Well, why you got bad debt on your books?" Well,
exactly.
Dude, did you just see the last 2 years?
Right.
Like, are you guys idiots? Like,
care.
you were part of this shit,
right? They just don't care, though.
And to be fair, like, COVID was good because I think a lot of guys from 2007 and 2008 had PTSD from then, and were like, "Yo, check. I'm chilling."
100%.
And it was like doors are wide open.
Which is fine. You can't blame for that, and it's going to happen again because, dude, the writing is on the wall. Like 90% of my Facebook feed of real estate investors that have been in the game for less than 10 years. I hate to say it, but they're in for a rude awakening. And I'm not saying that some of them won't survive, but they just don't know. Like another great book that we talk about is Psychology of Money. Like we all make decisions based on past experiences. Well, your dad has more past experiences than all of us. He's seen that. Then he saw, me and you.
It's cyclical, man.
Me and you have both seen 2007 and what happens. A lot of people have not.
Right.
Most real estate investors, newer real estate investors in the last 10 years have seen this.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. That's all I know.
I can't blame them for it. And I don't want to be like the dad figure on it, but it's like, dude, like you need to be careful.
No,
you need to be careful.
We're not going to call you dad. We're going to call you weatherman because you keep predicting it, and one day he'll be right. But no, I mean, it is a valid point.
No, it absolutely is. I mean, so that definitely played into our decision to be opportunistic. There's your word again, buddy. In other markets, $5. All right, I'll give you an IOU. It's just
did you use it twice?
I did use it twice.
3?
I'll probably
15?
use it a couple more.
All right.
Can I buy like a bulk discount up front?
Yeah. $5,000, please.
Yeah. So we're looking at that model, like storage. For example,
Sure.
Like, all right, lien laws are the same as they were pre-COVID, post-COVID, during COVID, whatever. Like, I don't care. You're out in 30, 45 days. Like, you're done. Like, your crap's either going to auction or I'm throwing it in a dumpster.
Right.
Like, I would love to throw some of my tenant stuff in a dumpster.
Market diversification. I'll sell storage for you. Market diversification.
That's way too sophisticated for me.
Consumer laws are tenfold better, right?
They are. They for sure are.
And I got to agree. Like you went through, we went and saw some of your new builds. Like you were getting into modular homes, and would you have like a 40% increase in materials?
Oh, dude, it was not. Yeah,
start to finish.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's not sustainable.
No.
So I think you always have to be in a position where you're willing to pivot.
Opportunistic.
You're just using a different word.
Yeah.
You're willing to pivot in order to become
we
opportunistic.
Love opportunistic words. That's great. Opportunistic is a great word.
Yeah, that is
makes you seem sophisticated.
Yeah.
It's a big word. I don't think I could spell it.
Well, that's the only reason I was using it.
it.
Everyone's like, "Oh my god, what is that word?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I came up with it." No,
I don't think so.
There's a K in there, right?
Somewhere.
Yeah,
somewhere. But no, in all seriousness, I think that you just have to look out for in our situation, what's going to be best for the future. Seeing the crap that they did. Look, I have 3 rental properties under contract right now. To buy because they brought them to me, and I'm like,
they're good deals, and they work.
They're good deals, they work, and if guess what, I could always sell them. I can do it with my eyes closed to some degree, and if I can add equity, and it's literally going to cost me $0 out of pocket. Hell, I might even be able to cash out of some if I really wanted to. So now I can cash out, and I add 3 properties or whatever. It's going to give me $500, $600, $700, $800 a month in cash flow.
Yeah,
that just it gives you a stronger foundation overall. That doesn't mean I'm out there looking for those deals, But if they come to me, I'm certainly going to take them down.
Dude, I agree.
You know, for now.
We do deals all the time that we're not actively looking for.
Sure.
And that's part of being in the space and continuing to do stuff and grow
it's
with
part of, like, I think to your point, like, the history. Like, people that brought me those, like, oh, I know he'll buy this. Yeah. And I know he'll actually go through with it. Versus some newbie out there, it's like, well, I'd like to put it under contract and try and wholesale it and make my 10 grand off of it. Like, these guys that brought me that stuff, they do not want to deal with that.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, no, like, I'm not interested in playing games.
Well, the best part about a market, I mean, listen, there's going to be a shift in the market. I'm glad to hear that you're still buying stuff. We're all still buying stuff because there's always a good time to buy it and sell it and trade it or barter it, however you want to do it, lend on it. No matter if the market's like this or like this or like this or like this, there's always good times at the right opportunities to buy them at the right price. You might have to creatively structure it, right? Sometimes you can get 100% bank debt. Sometimes you might not get any bank debt, but there's always a good time. There's always a good time to do it, and the time right now is to do it as well. And it's good that, like, I think we're all very present in the marketplace because we want people to bring us deals. We want to lend on deals. We want to buy deals. We want to sell deals, and will our business model look the same today as it did yesterday and today as tomorrow? No. But that's okay. You might be, it could get to a point like you probably, I know for a fact, because you've told me this, that you thought you were going to be single family operators forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then it's like, but I guess that goes back to like, we were talking about vision is like, man, like when you're locked in, you're like, man, this is it. Like you got to figure it out. And then like you're working through your vision and you're like, is this right? Like, am I doing this right? And it's not like, Jimmy was talking about being pivotal. It's not like you just like pivot and like, okay, today I was a single family operator, great. Now today I'm a lender, and then tomorrow I'm a storage investor, and then the next day I'm a multifamily. It's like, no, man, everything's like it's coordinated the way you do it, and you work through it, and you're like, all right, this is what's right for me and my business. And sure, when you're first getting in and everything's honky dory, and you're like, yeah, single family operator forever, and you're flipping a ton of houses, and there's tons of inventory, and that shit dries up overnight. Like as much as capital dries up overnight. How about like 2018 to 2019 when prices were just going like this, rents didn't follow, and everyone's like, this is a great deal. I'm like, I bought that same shell for 25 grand,
right?
And the rent hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Will rent's going to keep up? Like, do you think rents have kept up or will keep up?
I think rents are pretty stupid right now. You know what I mean? Like what stuff is renting
like
for
low
right
or
now? Like
high?
high.
Like high.
I think market rent has gone through the roof.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Subsidized is not kept on.
Subsidized has lagged behind for sure.
I mean, but what happens? Okay, so when I moved back to the area after college and things like that, early 2000s, like I couldn't buy a house because like stuff started really, and then up until 2007, it just kept getting bigger and bigger, bigger. So like where we wanted to live, we couldn't live. So we'd either live at like a house you want further out, or you live in an apartment or a condo closer in to buy. A lot of people that when they're just getting out of college or high school or they're younger in the workforce, like they don't necessarily have the down payment money. They might be able to afford it, but they don't have $100,000 as down payment money. Like I'm curious, and I don't know that many like 20-year-olds anymore or like 25-year-olds, but like what they do to buy a house, where they're living or can they afford it. Like, I'm curious to see where this is going to go. And, is the market going to take a big downturn in order for, right now there's obviously a lot of demand for properties just because there's no inventory. Like, I think that's the only reason that's where this whole thing's funky. Like, prices in certain neighborhoods can double just based off demand, I think. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Howard County market, for instance. I mean, there's no houses on the market, right? Where your dad lives, because I'm assuming he still lives in the same place.
Yeah, he does.
Like that neighborhood, there's probably one for sale sign.
Yeah.
And guess what? You put another for sale sign in there, it's going to sell for $30,000 higher. So like that puts another monkey wrench in this whole freaking market, just because there's not any, there's just no demand.
Not to mention like affordability, right? Like when I listed my house, I think it was like one of 17 houses in like all of Cecil County that were listed at that current moment. I'm like, this is insane. Like Cecil County's, I know it's rural, but there's still a lot of housing inventory in there. To think 17 houses in a whole county,
it's nuts. I think overall though, I think the demand is there. And going back to your point, whatever the future holds for the market, I don't know. I mean, rates are certainly going to go up. I mean, that's a given. Yeah. I mean, and it's going to be, I don't know. I think you could see 1.5. You could see 5.5% by this time next year, I think.
Yeah, that changes a good bit.
Oh, it changes a lot. But The problem is though the market's so skewed. Like 5% when I got started.
Yeah. What
I
was your
like,
first mortgage?
Shit, that would be
loan
great.
amount?
I'd love that 5%.
Yeah.
Oh, it was probably 8%.
Was it? What year?
7-8%, I bet.
Well, no, for a primary residence.
Oh, my primary.
Your primary.
I bet you it was 6 something.
I think mine was 6 1/4.
Yeah, I bet you it was 6
or
something.
5 1/4.
So
like
you're talking 20 some years ago. The rates are still lower than they were 20 some years ago. But overall, I mean, there is, in my opinion, like the 08 stuff, there is no underlying fundamental issues.
Correct.
With the financial market.
I agree.
With the loan structures that are out there. The loans that are being done today are legitimate loans.
I
like
agree.
people are coming in with money down or cash or whatever. Like they're not loans that people are just going to walk away from.
But the only agreed. The only thing is they were, the down payments are still small, and there's cheaper interest rates on them. So,
well, if there's a downturn in the market.
There's a downturn in the market, they're going to be underwater. But again, if they have 30-year mortgages, they don't have 228 arms. That's what we did. That's what everyone did back in the day. These 228s. So every 2 years, man, you're fucked. Like
right.
You were screwed. And the people that wanted them were the subprime borrowers. For mostly because they wanted the cheaper payments.
Well, or you had 80-20 stuff. You know what I mean? Like I'll give you 80% first and a 20% HELOC second or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think people are going to be underwater, but that's okay. I mean, being underwater, if you're not looking to sell your house, it doesn't matter what it's worth.
But I don't think it's going to be substantially
I
underwater
don't
like you saw back in the day. Like when people were underwater, that's why they walked, because they're like, shit, I'll be in this house for 30 years and still never break even. I'm out.
7 years, I'm out of bankruptcy and I'm done.
Exactly.
Right? Like that was the big difference. And I agree with Jimmy. There was an inherent issue, and there was a bubble to be burst, and there was a lot of shit going on, and that's when the government stepped in. If you want, I'll go on record because I was telling someone earlier. I was talking to Farling on my way down here, and I was telling him, I said, my gut feeling is, because we all know we live in a skewed world right now, and not to make this a political podcast, but they're going to tweak shit until the 2024 election, because I think they know that most likely they're going to lose that. It's going to become all Republican again. If I had to guess,
well, they could lose the House and the Senate.
Yeah,
for sure.
Something's going to happen where something's going to flip flop, and there's going to be back and balance in power. Whether it's all Republican or they all switch it, doesn't matter. They want to set the next people up to fail, and they're going to keep tweaking the markets. And I think there's going to be a little wave here through 2024, the first 6 months of 2024 election, however that shit works out on paper. But I think that's the inherent issue we have in that time frame, because they're trying to screw up the next market for the next guy. I could be wrong. I don't know, but it just kind of. That's the overall feeling that I get, that it's like there's
what
do you do?
No.
Oh.
Where does that put the marketplace? Does that
I think you still have to be buying good deals. A good deal is a good deal. Yeah. You even said it a few minutes ago. It doesn't matter what cycle the market you're in or whatever. If the deal works, the way I always bought on cash flow and equity.
Correct.
Like so many people out there that would be like, "Oh, just buy it on cash flow." Like what happens if the shit hits the fan and you got to get out from underneath of this thing? Like you're stuck with this.
Yeah.
Like you have no way to raise capital if you needed to.
Agreed.
So like that was always kind of our thing was, on the residential side, I would buy it on cash flow and equity. If it didn't have the equity, like I couldn't afford to stroke a check for $30,000 for every rental I bought. There's no flipping way. Like that would never work. But so I'm basically buying my cash flow is what I'm doing. If I got to put up $30,000 to make this deal work, it's not a deal.
Exactly.
So
I would say being liquid. We're 3 months operating expenses in the bank, just like trying to be liquid. And thank God Dan's a Dave Ramsey fan and has to have an insane amount of cash on hand, and I think that goes a long way too.
I think the problem with that though is when you're growing and trying to be opportunistic.
Correct.
Oh yeah, you can't.
It's hard to have that money in the bank because you almost feel like, well, shit, now I can't do this deal. Yeah.
We were talking about this yesterday. So me and Dan, I sent a picture out. Dan was staring out the window. I was like, board meeting today, and like we wound up in this deep conversation. And he's like, you were talking about our one manager that we have currently and switching management companies. And he's like, I look forward to the new management company because they do the books for us, and I just tweak the money that comes in.
Right.
I said, well, what's the issue? He's like, well, when I see the money in our bank account, then I start tweaking shit. Then I lose my mind. And then it's like iron cuffs because I'm like, well, we need this much money on hand because I see how much they're spending today. And he loses his mind over it.
Yeah. I mean, you almost get to the point where, if you stopped acquisitions, right?
Yep.
You don't buy then you're fine. Because then you go to straight management, that money sits in the bank, and you're not having to deploy capital to do whatever you got to do.
Yep.
You're always chasing, when you're growing, you're always chasing money, chasing money. Once that stops, like if you were to say, all right, I'm done today, we're not acquiring anything else, right? And I know we've had that conversation, then yeah, you're good. Like if you stop today, you're good from a cash flow perspective once it catches. You know what I'm saying? Like you're stopping deploying capital and CapEx things or whatever and stuff like that. And now all of a sudden you're monthly and you're yearly and you're annual and all that stuff, your cash flow, you can breathe. But like when you're in growth mode, you're constantly laying out money. And you're like, where the hell did all of our money go? But then you look at it and you're like, well, we bought this, we're fixing that up, we're doing this, we're doing that, so, and then it's, it becomes tough to have that catch.
And we rode that wave for a long time, right? Like when we were growing, it was like cash out. And Dan's like, oh my God, like all we do is spend his cash, right? And like when we hit that lull at the end of 19 before we bought West Virginia and White House, and sitting there and concentrating operations and seeing the cash come in the bank feels really good. Then, of course, my brain's like, yeah, we got to deploy that. Like, we just can't sit in the bank,
See, I've got a different opinion on it, and I don't disagree with it. I actually think you take some of that cash and divert it into other investment opportunities that are a little bit more liquid when possible, potentially a private loan or something else that you can just that's kind of like out of your business, because owning real estate and assets for a living is never-ending cycle, right? It's every dollar that you get in, you want to redeploy into it. After your expenses are done, it's like, cool, we have $50,000 left over. Let's put it into another deal. Like, we do that as well. We're heavily invested in our own deals, but they're a little bit more liquid, obviously.
Sure.
In that particular case. But also, we were able to, a way that we actually acquired a good bit of our own funds, which is similar to your guys' stuff as well, was like we'd have to step in and pay property taxes for somebody or front an attorney bill or do this or do that, right? So like our money's always tied in, and we get interest on that, right? I get fees on it, I get everything else. So it's always tied into an asset. It might be whatever. Let's say it's $100,000. It might be divvied up into 10 different opportunities. But like we try to, I don't know. Personally, I feel like if you can divert it out of your operating account, just so it doesn't go to your expenses, and you can put it somewhere else that's still working for you in your business. Mm-hmm. I don't know. To me, it feels like you have that as a safeguard for then if you need to write a check for $50,000 for something, you don't know where it's coming from. I agree. You have it, and I don't know. I mean, maybe it's go buy a property in cash and get it instead of getting financed on it, knowing that you could potentially, do a loan against that in a few. I don't know.
Right. I get it.
But something that's more liquid, because if not, it's just going to get absorbed. It's just like your household checking account. You could put $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month in your household checking account, and it's fucking gone in 30 days, no matter what. You can live off that same amount, and who knows where it goes.
Right.
So, and in your business,
it's more Amazon packages at your door.
Exactly.
Oh,
and in business, it's the same way, because I know that you guys look at every dollar that you have that's left. Let's say you already take out your salary, whatever the case is. It's like, cool, we got $50,000. Where are we going to deploy that? We do the same thing inside where are we going to put that? What are we going to invest in? So if there's ways to kind of diversify that or put that into something that is not like in your operating account, that also has the way to stay somewhat liquid. I mean, I think on your guys' ends, as owning real estate, figuring out ways to either lend money to your company from yourself,
right,
or lend it to somebody else just as like a side fund, just to have some liquidity, knowing that like, hey, worst case scenario, if I needed to tap this cash, because it's still working for you, right? You lend it out.
Sure. I mean, it's not sitting in there making a 1% return.
But what happens is you guys are it's a never-ending machine.
Oh, that's exactly what
I agree with you.
Yeah, my point.
I mean, we didn't take out $1 from our rental portfolio ever until we sold the entire portfolio. Yeah. Literally, we didn't take out $1.
That's awesome.
To the company.
Yep.
It was also a secondary business.
All right, Jimmy. So, instead of $5 an opportunistic word, you could just lend me $5,000. Jason said you got to lend money. That's all I heard out of that.
I'll borrow that, yeah.
So you could use the opportunistic. I'll lend you the opportunistic word, and you can lend me money in exchange for that.
Yeah.
Is that what you meant?
Sure. Just sign over the interest, and we'll get it deployed for you.
All right.
All right. Well, let's wrap up. Anything
I was
going to
say,
talk to Jimmy about?
Yeah, all right, Jimmy. So you're
going
on this
over an hour, just FYI.
Is it?
You said you had nothing to say. 90 seconds. Is that what you said? So obviously you've taken the leap into storage.
Yep.
You're still building houses.
Yep. We still have some houses, going on. Yep.
You got your rental portfolio that you're being,
Yep.
nimble on and pivotal and opportunistic to whatever the market brings.
It's a lot of big words.
I assume that you're going to potentially use your builder skills potentially in the storage or commercial world, right?
Yep.
What is, obviously in this crazy climate that we're about to endure, I believe, what does your next 12 months look like? And what's like your ultimate goal out of all this?
Probably I'd like to wind down the new builds. To be honest, I think that that's something that is the biggest stressor that I have by far. And, I think that they're good paydays. Don't get me wrong. But is the juice worth the squeeze? And I don't know if that answer is yes anymore in that arena. I just had a conversation with my engineer, and he's like, I don't know what's going on over in Baltimore County. He was like one permit that I literally called on 2 weeks ago, and they're like, oh, you got to get with environmental and settlement control. He calls to follow up again. They're like, we don't even have that permit in our system. Like, what is going like this? That's the kind of crap you're dealing with.
Yep.
So like trying to probably wind those down, ramp up more of the storage or commercial type opportunities. I do like that. So yeah, I would say, definitely add some more storage. I don't know. I mean, following, seeing what you've done with it, seeing what other people that we know have done with it. I think that over the next 12 months, I think you got to be careful with where the rates are going to go. I think when you're running numbers on a deal, I don't think you can use the, 3, 4, 5% rates that, you were once using. Even on my refis on my rentals now, like the residential stuff that we still have some that we're looking to refi. I mean, the numbers that we had that we were running a month ago, 2 months ago, they're already gone. So, and I think the writing's on the wall now. The Fed's saying they're going to come out and, keep jacking rates and jacking rates and jacking rates. That's going to put some fear into the market. And these lenders are quick to react, boy. Oh, yeah. It's not like, hey, we're hearing this is going to happen and we might remove rates. It's like, we heard this is going to happen. Your rate just went up half a point.
Right. You're not locked. Screw you. Like, literally, that's
pretty
how
much,
it goes down. Yep.
Exactly. It's the email I just got while I was sitting in this chair.
Yep.
And it's like, do you still want to do it or not? Like, really? Like, that's your, like, it's, so.
It's like, I thought we had a relationship.
Yeah.
Doesn't work like that.
So that's, I think the 12 months is going to be a cautious growth kind of mode. From the perspective of finding the right deals. A deal's a deal no matter what. Like, I agree. But I think that you also need to execute, quicker, I guess you could say. Like, don't take your sweet time turning a deal over, whether it be a single family or a storage or a commercial deal or whatever. Like, get in, get it done, and try to try to roll it into permanent financing as quick as you can.
That's how all of us made money here is, speed to market, right? Like getting a deal done, right? Jason could fund a deal in 24 hours if he had to, right? Like, and we get deals done, we build them out, and boom, we refinance them as fast as possible.
You have to, because it's freaking musical chairs, baby. Whoever's holding the bag is screwed.
Yeah, and right now especially. We've done enough doomsday stuff. Positively, are you a book, podcast type guy? What
podcast guy, probably more the audible book kind of guy.
What's the go-to right now?
Reading a book sounds good, and you want to tell people, I'm a big reader. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd like to read more, but I just don't.
I can't do it either.
I can't. I'll start reading at night. I'll fall asleep. I'll be like, oh yeah, I got like a half a page read. Like, I'm done.
Audiobooks are so much easier.
Yeah.
So
podcasts, I like AJ Osborne. I listen to his stuff a lot for the storage side of things.
Did you read his book too originally on audio?
I read. Didn't get through the whole thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is a lot of stuff that he goes over in his podcast type stuff.
Yeah. No, it's good. I
grinded
through most of his stuff. Or I did.
Former guest on the podcast.
You're right. We did have AJ on our podcast before.
Well, Ian's been on his too.
I mean, look at that.
We're sitting in like a company of royalty. It's like self storage royalty.
Yeah, well, I'm just sitting here.
Did we ever have Wags on this group?
We did. We had him on the REI. When we did REI Madness, we had to stick Jimmy in the new build group.
Yeah.
Because he was still heavy new builds then, but he was in the REI Madness. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you, buddy. That means a lot to me.
Yeah,
it really does.
Well, now I can stick you in the
Warms my
storage
heart.
group.
Are you ready for storage? If we add you to a storage, I mean, I'd be happy to cut Terry and put you in.
You wouldn't be cutting a
He
lot.
just needs a reason to beat up on Terry. My man's on a plane to St. John right now.
Yeah, I know. He's getting ready to go scuba diving, and us idiots are sitting around here talking.
Yeah, who's the joke on?
Right?
So
I mean, I guess.
you got
I want to go
AJ.
scuba diving. I want to do a podcast.
Yeah.
I have fun with. I'm having fun.
Yeah. What? Plus, you don't want to see.
In-
You don't want to see either of us in a
in-
bathing suit. Don't worry about it.
in raining 40-degree
Try
weather.
and harpoon us.
Yeah. It's good fat on that tuna. Anyway, what else you got? Like any motivational type stuff or like books, like just any other go-tos.
There's
that you
a guy that from my previous life as a real estate agent, a guy named Brian Buffini,
Okay.
and it's
Glenn's laughing.
I
from
follow.
the,
I used to do all Brian Buffini stuff when I was a real estate agent.
I mean, he is more of a. It's called "It's a Good Life" is his
Okay.
podcast. He has some pretty heavy hitters come on there,
He's legit.
and he's really good from a mindset perspective.
Okay.
And working by referrals. That's
Working
what-
by
that's
referrals,
what it
yeah.
is.
Yeah,
I
that's
think-
his whole
I
premise
think
of his
he
business.
has
Yeah,
that trademark, working by
yeah.
referrals.
So working by
Call him up,
referrals,
see if you can get me a trademark.
yeah, dude, he's got. Talk about a Rolodex. This man's
Really?
got a Rolodex.
No,
yeah.
he was legit 20 years ago when I was a real estate
He was,
agent.
yeah.
This is pre-podcast. They didn't have
He's got a
that.
good podcast though.
This
I
is
mean,
also pre-iPhones.
yeah, right,
So-
exactly, right.
So that
The pager and
when
the
it was
office phone.
anything pre-iPhone just feels too long ago that you
Yeah.
don't even know.
Yeah.
But no, it was working by referral stuff. So he has a good podcast.
He's got
I
a
didn't know he
really
had
good
one.
podcast. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth checking into. I think he changed it now. It's called "It's a Good Life."
that's it,
It talks a lot about just mindset stuff, and a lot of people got kicked in the teeth during COVID. And he was on there and doing a lot of stuff to just be like, look, here's what you need to do, and put one foot in front of the other kind of thing, and and stuff like that. So
Nice.
it's definitely that's worth checking out.
I'll have to check that one out. I haven't heard that. Any other closing words you want to leave the audience?
Opportunistic.
Love it.
Word of the day.
I like
Love
that.
it. I like it. We're gonna.
You want to leave your contact information?
Yeah. Where's the best place people can find you? Now.
Opportunistic.com.
Exactly. I'm going to checking that on GoDaddy later.
We should.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it,
We'll
yeah.
get an opportunistic sign right here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We were going to get an HMB sign, but then it kind of leaves Equity Warehouse out.
Well, we can put it
I
under
guess
it.
we get like Equity Warehouse, HMB, I don't know, something. But maybe we'll just opportunistic.
My goal is to sponsor the couch.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get us a nice leather couch for in here.
Let's go. I've been waiting.
I'm digging around. I'm
Here
waiting for.
every day waiting
I'm
for
waiting
you
for
to put the
Facebook
freezer out.
Marketplace to have a good deal.
Put an Equity Warehouse logo across
Yeah.
the back of it or something.
Uh-huh.
We can superimpose that
Nice.
in post production.
There's no post production. We literally just rip these things and off they go. And that's how we got to do it. Otherwise, we'd never do the damn thing. So, where's the best place people can find you?
You guys can email me, Jimmy, Jimmy, at BWPMD for BlueWaterPropertiesMaryland.com. Is the best way to get me.
And if you screw it up, if you email Jimmy or Jimmy Senior, you get the eventually gets to the same place.
I will say though, when you do email them, you're not going to know which Jim or
Yeah.
Jimmy
Exactly.
Yeah.
got back to you.
Good luck.
You never know which one gets back to you.
Yep.
All right, brother. Appreciate it.
Thanks, boys.
Thanks.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Reserve Podcast. Do us a favor and like, comment, and share our broadcast. It helps the algorithm and helps us spread the word too. Till next time, thank you for tuning in.